I'm Kim Anderson with Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service, Oklahoma State University, and I've learned that the only fair way to buy wheat is to grade it accurately. And grading starts with pulling a representative truck sample. And pulling that sample, you're going to end up with about 1,025 grams or 2.3 pounds to represent a 27 million gram load of wheat, or around 60,000 pounds of wheat in a semi truck. The only way to get an accurate grade of what's in that truck is if you get a representative sample. Now, you got to have good equipment and trained personnel. Some elevators will have pneumatic probes, a truck probe. You've got to know how many probes to take, what angles to take those probes, and where to probe the truck. Same with a hand probe or a trier. You've got to have trained personnel. You want to insert that probe about 10-degree angle. You want the gates shut when you're inserting it in the wheat. You want the gates to the upper end of that 10% angle. You got to pull several probes in that truck so that you get a representative sample. Now, when I was early on in my career, I was conducting the grain grading schools, and and the elevator manager says, "Kim, you don't know what you're talking about. You've never been there." So I come up on harvest. I decided that I'd try to find an elevator that let me work around the receiving area or in the grading station. And I did some calls. I ended up managing a branch elevator. It was an elevator that had two 10,500 bushel bins. It was sitting in the middle of a wheat field. Now, I really only used one of those bins because I was dumping wheat essentially from the farm truck into semis over to the main elevator system. I learned that the managers were right. I hadn't been there. I didn't know what I was talking about. Now, we've talked about pulling the probes pulling the samples with hand probes or pneumatic probes. What they gave me to get my probes with was a Folgers coffee can. I was excited about being out there working that harvest and learning from farmers and learning about receiving grain, learning with hands-on to grade it accurately. Now, early on, about second or third day, this truck pulls up and I jump up on the stand and I reach in with my coffee can and I get a sample out. An elderly lady sticks her head out the window and says, "Did you take it out of the middle?" And I said, "No, ma'am." She says, "Get it out of the middle." I said, "Yes, ma'am," and I got it out of the middle. But I got to thinking, I wonder if that sample I get out of the top of the truck would match the sample if I pulled one at the dump pit. So I called Carl over at the main office and said, "Carl, you got any more coffee cans?" He said, "Yes." And I said, "Send me some over in the next truck." And he said, "How many?" And I said, 25. So what I made was some slips of paper. And when I'd write out the scale ticket for the truck, I'd give that paper to the driver and say, "Give this to the kid at the dump pit." I gave all those cans to the kid at the dump pit and said, "I want you to pull me a sample out of every load and put this paper in there." I said, "Now, I don't want you to take it at the same time. I want a little bit at the beginning, several in the middle, and a little bit at the end." Those farmers said, "Kim, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm a professor at Oklahoma State University, and I'm conducting research." "Well, what kind of research are you doing?" "Well," I said, "I want to see if the sample I get off the top matches the one that I get in the dump pit." They said, "It will." Yeah, right. Anyway, for the first 3 days, there was a significant difference in every grade factor from the one I got out of the top of the truck and the one I got at the dump pit. But after 3 days, those farmers said, "Well, if you're going to do it that way, we'll quit trying to hide it on you." After 3 days, there wasn't, or rarely was there, significant differences in the two samples. The moral of that story is that it's important that you probe in areas and where they will try to hide the stuff from you. And if they see you doing that, they're not going to take the time and the effort to try to hide it. Now, in sampling farm trucks, it's recommended that you pull 7 probes. Like I said, you put the probe in at 10-degree angle. You get a representative sample. If you're doing semi-trailers, it's recommended that you do 9 probes. And in conducting the grain grading schools and in teaching this, people at the elevator say, Kim, we're 12, 14, 16-hour days probing trucks, and if you think that I'm going to pull 9 probes in every semi that comes through or 7 probes for every farm truck, you don't have to pull that many probes. I think it's extremely important that early in the harvest that you probe the trucks more times than you're going to probe later, that you probe the trucks at random points every time they come through. Do not probe them at the same point every time. So mix it up. And if you do that, they will quit trying to hide it on you, and it'll be easier to get a representative sample from that truck. Now, if you're sampling hopper bottoms or pup trailers, you'll want to get at least 2 probes in each trailer, maybe 3. Or in each hopper. You'll want to put it, out from the sides a little bit, and you want to go down about the angle of the hopper going down in the tank. So you want to pull those. You want to get a representative samples. So in sampling, it's extremely important that you get a representative sample out of that 20 to 60,000 pound load. That you pull a sample that 1,025 grams, about 2.3 pounds, will represent that load of wheat, because that's what's going to be used to determine the value of that wheat. In running that coal elevator, that's the one thing I learned. Producers were more interested in how I graded their wheat and the grade I put down for each load than they were the price in the window, because they knew the grade was the ultimate determination of the value of that load. We're using 1,025 gram sample to determine the value of a 27 million gram load. Sampling is the first step of the grading process, and if you don't do it right, you're just about wasting your time in the rest of the grading process. Also, if you don't get a representative sample, you don't know what kind of wheat is going in that bin, and then when you're shipping out, you're going to have a harder time meeting contracts, specifications. You've got to know what's in the truck. You've got to grade it accurately so that you know what's going in the bin and what kind of product you have to sell. What have I learned? I've learned that the only fair way to buy wheat is to grade it accurately. And to grade it accurately, you've got to get a representative sample out of that truck.